I think Vince really liked her because of the fact that she never said no to any idea that was put out there, and she pretty much would do anything. Um, they talk about the Stephanie McMahon wedding, which was when she was actually on the show as a storyline figure of Vince McMahon's daughter. She was pretty innocent at the time. She hadn't turned heel, but she was going out with a wrestler in storyline, Test. I always thought Test was pretty badass. I always really liked him. As the storyline progressed, and he was having matches against Triple H. There was an episode of Raw where I really thought that he was going to win the title, even after this storyline was done and it was like into the invasion. He ended up winning a battle royal where he would not get fired with the other WCW, ECW superstars. I really thought that he had a chance to go on a run and be somebody. I just really liked him, and I don't know why he never got to that next level. He ended up sticking around in WWE for a really long time. He was in that rebrand of ECW. That was, I don't know, what year was that? 2005, 2006, somewhere in there. So, I mean, he had a good long run in the company, and I wish he was still around, but I think it was his dabbling in like pills and stuff like that did him in. But the main storyline that Stephanie was involved in was on Monday Night Raw, when she had a wedding with Test, and Triple H pitched the idea that they really didn't know what the ending was, and the wedding idea of just of Test and Stephanie being married didn't really make sense. And he said, what if I drugged Stephanie and took her to Vegas and we got married? And then all of a sudden I married to Stephanie. And Vince loved it. And off to the races they go from there. One of those things, we haven't really dabbled into all of the Vince McMahon allegations. We are in episode 5. I'm really surprised that they haven't really popped up. It's pretty much all been about wrestling, all been about Vince. And the ups and downs that he's had in his career to this point. But they did harp on the fact that after Triple H was revealed to be the husband of Stephanie McMahon and Tess would not be able to marry, Triple H, I believe, says it's not if, but how we consummated the marriage. And that's basically saying Stephanie McMahon was drugged. And that's the only reason why she was able to go through with the wedding, and Triple H was able to say her I do. And then I guess Triple H took her back to the hotel room and had sex with her. Pretty much raped her. It just goes back into Vince in that last thing getting caught up of being basically saying that wrestling was sports entertainment, where there's no violence, there's no rape, there's no guns. And they were able to expose all three of those within a second of him saying after the wedding, it basically did the McMahon-Helmsley era, where Stephanie McMahon turned heel, went along with Triple H. Vince McMahon was so distraught over this, he just left the WWF, and that is why McMahon and Helmsley were able to use their control to basically do anything that they wanted to do at the time. It was a pretty hot angle. They said that because of the fact that they were able to, be hanging out all the time because of their storyline is where they actually, met and got to know each other, and that's basically where they fell in love. No mention of China. Very, very surprised for a negative documentary. I guess it's more negative about the fact of, Vince. They're probably going to tear into him pretty soon about everything that's been out there in the news. But with an episode entitled Family Business, I was pretty much surprised that they had a chance to take a shot at Triple H, and they didn't take it. That sort of shows me that because of the WWE and Netflix relationship that's going to be starting at the beginning of the year, which I'm pretty sure it's already started. We've seen Netflix at Raw, and WWE has been making a lot of like videos for Netflix, waiting as a countdown to Monday Night Raw being on Netflix. I'm sure Netflix didn't want to have a documentary taking a shot of like pretty much one of the main executives of the company that they're going to be moving in on, but it was served up to them right there, and they didn't take it. Vince had a weird idea of the Stephanie and Triple H wedding, the actual wedding, the real one in real life when they got married. Being on pay-per-view, as a wrestling fan, and Triple H being one of my favorite wrestlers, I don't know why anybody would want that. Maybe you watched the wedding to see what wrestlers, like I know Ric Flair was in the wedding, I'm sure Randy Orton, maybe Batista were there. You know, what other wrestlers were in attendance that were sitting there with their wives? Maybe that's something. Maybe like a female wrestling fan would have got something out of there. I'm sure it was a huge, very elegant affair. Everybody knows the story of Doc Hendricks going out there on the microphone and being pretty drunk and wanting to sing a song. And Linda made sure that somebody went and grabbed him and didn't ruin Stephanie, and we'll just call him Paul this time. Stephanie and Paul's magical night of their wedding.